lag on this. We're having a quick lag on this this podcast here. Apparently, we weren't live that entire time, so we do want to apologize. Technical difficulties, but getting into some shout outs and announcements here. The Galaxy's 2002 MLS Cup winning team won on this day. So in this day in history in 2002, your very first Galaxy championship team wrapped up that title. That was their fourth appearance in MLS Cup. Up to that time, they were beginning to be that team that was a little bit in futility. Carlos Pescadito Ruiz, of course, scored in the second extra time to win this game 1-0. It was the first MLS title. And like I mentioned, they had lost 3 times before that, and they finally got one. And they thought it was never happen. They thought the Galaxy were going to be the Buffalo Bills of American soccer, and finally in 2002 they broke through. Moving right along here, this one is big. If you know me, you know that I love Don Raul and everything representing Don Raul. So this man got a Topps card, and as you guys can see here, it's glorious. It's him lifting that trophy and showing it off to the world. We do want to take a moment and say what up to everybody in chat. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for bearing with us through the technical difficulties. And that's why Ananda is usually here to go ahead and press buttons. I don't know about the pressing buttons, but we're gonna make it happen. Anyway, so go ahead and pick up that Don Raul Topps card. That's gonna be a rarity. I know for sure. I've been looking out on how to get that card. So if you find out, go ahead and let me know. It's Dia de los Outlaws soon, y'all. The Outlaws throw a Halloween party every year. This year, it's on October 25th. It'll be at 9 p.m. DM someone in Outlaws for the deets. This is a great time. I've been a couple times. Not ashamed to say that I don't remember the entire evening. That's how fun these parties are. So go ahead and hit up your favorite Outlawser. Outlawser? Is that a word? We'll go ahead and ask Andrew when he comes on here pretty soon. He's a writer as well, so he'll go ahead and tell me if that's a word. So find out from your favorite person from Outlaws, what the deets are. And then staying with Outlaws here, Diego Fagundes was the Outlaws Player of the Year. I didn't know they actually awarded a Player of the Year, but now that I do know, I'm pleased to report that Diego Fagundes is their Player of the Year. I mean, everybody knows that I'm a big Diego fan, and it's really gratifying to see him get some recognition for the year he's had. And then Lars also names a Player of the Year, and they gave theirs to Mauricio Cuevas. And so you see Mauricio Cuevas here chugging that good Lars beer here, and I don't say I blame him after the season that these lads have had. And this is one of the ones that kind of puzzled me when we heard about it. The Galaxy are playing Club America in a friendly on Saturday, November 15th. Again, this one's being billed as a postseason friendly. But with the proximity to Champions Cup just a couple months later, what is it really? So it'll be interesting to see, which players actually turn out for this match. But this match is happening on November 15th against one of the most popular teams in Mexico. So go ahead and make sure to find your tickets for that. And then that begs the question, as I mentioned, since the Galaxy are starting their season in February, that means they're going to be in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. But what does that mean for their CVI participation? Well, as of right now, we don't know, but what we do know is the CVI has been announced already. That runs from the 7th to the 21st of February. There are 12 MLS teams as of right now and 6 NWSL teams. And like I mentioned, it'll be a shame if there is no Galaxy because of a Champions Cup commitment. I mean, not a shame that the Galaxy are going to be in the Champions Cup, but it's the CVI is fun. It's one of those moments where you guys can go ahead and get up close and personal with these players and get to get some autographs and stuff like that. But those were the announcement, guys. And now some guys that I want to get autographs from. You can catch his work at Galaxy Nation, the view from Avalon, and Nuestra Galaxia Futbolera. Please welcome back Andrew Hernandez.
What's up, Rob? So great to be back.
Hey, Papa. Thank you so much for being back here with us. We do appreciate it. Sorry for the technical difficulties there at the end. Like I mentioned, Hernandez, the technical one that goes and presses all the buttons. But, I'm usually the one that's just a pretty face here. And then now you can bring the actual analysis.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, a bit of a shame that Hernandez not here. We miss him for sure. Sending him lots of hugs.
Yeah, man, I definitely will. And we also do have another special guest here. This guy's been on the show with us a couple times now. You can catch him. You can catch him selling me illicit wares behind the 7-Eleven on Victoria and Avalon, and also on his podcast Talking Galaxy. Welcome back, Peyton Bedouin.
What's up, guys? What's up? I'm glad that my Fent dealer is here. Honored to be back on the podcast. This reminds me of Saturday Night Live, how they, I think by your 5th appearance, you get like a jacket or something. So,
Ooh.
we
don't have the budget for that, but
I'll be waiting for mine briefly here. So, whenever you want to send that over.
I got you on your first bolsita of Flintstone skin. So.
Great. All right,
I got you, man. So we do have a super chat here from the homie Adam. $2 super chat. Thank you so much. He says the Galaxy game versus America is just a money grab. Bro, I'm not against what you're saying at all. I mean, it's very much just like a for me a money grab. I mean, guys, what do you think? Is this game necessary? I mean, Club America will be just going into the playoffs. Who knows who will be on the Galaxy roster at that point? What do you think? I mean, big money grab. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we might end up touching on this a little bit later, but we got to pay for Lewandowski somehow, right? It's going to be big games like this. So, I mean, it's business at the end of the day. You can't really fault him for it. If someone offers me, maybe a couple M's just to host a one-night thing, I'm taking that pretty quickly. That's probably why you guys started dealing Fent and all of that. But at the end of the day, money makes the world go round. So, it is what it is. And if it gets, really maybe some new players, maybe someone like Riqui Puig, some competitive-ish minutes, I mean, all's well that ends well. At the end of the day, it'll be another good day for the Galaxy fans to, get some soccer in November.
Well, even that is kind of up in the air, right? Because somebody mentioned online that, maybe we'll see Riqui, and Riqui commented, "Not true." So I don't know what
did he comment under.
What was it? Yours, bro?
Yeah.
I just heard through the grapevine, man.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Break it down for us. Break it down for us.
Say on that, I posted that the Galaxy will play Club America in a friendly match November 15th, 2025, blah, blah, blah. I said that Riqui Puig is expected to return in this game, as reiterated by Corner of the Galaxy, and not that he confirmed that in the moment, but he basically said that the Galaxy had a plan to get Riqui Puig back and ready to play, because in February we begin with CONCACAF. If we don't have everyone's like Coachella is proper, it's a proper way for Riqui to get back into fitness. We might not be in Coachella. So how do you navigate that? It made sense that Riqui Puig would return in that game. They've been talking about how he's been getting closer and closer. It made sense. So I said he was expected to return in that game. Not that he will, that he was expected to return in that game. And, take it to the chin. Riqui comments not true under it. Me and Galaxy runs LA's post. And, it just, if Riqui is not playing, which he doubled down on it. After I think Galaxy Runs LA made his post that he will not be playing, he commented with the thumbs up emoji or something. We get it. You're not playing, sure. I'm gonna go on it. I feel like this is a slap in the face to fans, really, in my opinion. And I get it. It's more Galaxy soccer. It's an optional game, but I feel like the least they could have done after the season that we had was give tickets for season ticket members out as included. I feel like that's the least they could have done after how this campaign has gone. Not to mention, if you're not going to do that, upcharging ticket prices. Look, I went to Leagues Cup semifinal. I went to the Campeones Cup final. Both of those tickets combined in Angel City Brigade are less than one ticket for the Club of America, a friendly match. It's starting at about $65 when I looked at the pre-sale prices. It's a ripoff, and it feels like a slap in the face. Everybody has the right to go to whatever games they want to, but it's going to be all Club America fans because they know that Club America fans are more likely to buy tickets to this game. Because if you're a Club America fan in LA, I don't care if it's a friendly match. Yeah. I'm gonna see my team play, and they have a massive fan base. It was the same thing as Leagues Cup. It's gonna be all Club America fans, in my opinion, and more than anything, it's a slap in the face. If Riqui was gonna play even 15 minutes, even 5 minutes, whatever it may be, I would have got tickets to this match. I'm not going for a cash grab. It's an absolute cash grab, and I think it was a poor decision on the Galaxy front office part to, one, not make it accessible to season ticket members, and two, to upcharge it like they are. I feel like people need to talk about this more. I think after the season we had, it's not the move. It's not the move.
Can I offer the devil's advocate point of view?
Yeah.
Or what? Here's what I believe Greg Vanney would say in any press conference, that the extended time off from basically now to when does training camp start? Like a month before, the beginning of January, right? So they would have like a month and a half off, right? So I think at least the administration would, or like the FO would be like, oh, it's a way for the players to maintain some of that fitness. They're still on training camp. It's not like they're going away and then just coming back for that match. They're still, not training camp, but they're still in training every week. And then they play this match, and then I believe they would be off for the year. But yeah, I feel what you guys are saying, but I think that there's also a small element to, both can be true, right? The Galaxy need fitness because if they have that much extended time off, then they're going to lose fitness, and it's a way for them to maintain. And also, it's a fat money grab. Both going to be true. So anyway, that's just kind of like the devil's advocate in me real quick. We do have another super chat from the homie Adam. Thank you so much, guys. Will Joe Tutino return next season? His last sign-off, last game sounded like a goodbye. Were you guys able to hear his last sign-off? I didn't. I read about it. I just read about it, and obviously things are different in print than in when you hear them, you can hear emotion and stuff like that in voice. So did either of you guys hear it?
I did.
Yeah, I did.
Let us know, man. How did it sound? Like, was there emotion?
So, in that clip, he mentioned that we're going to be playing an Open Cup next season instead of Leagues Cup, which is another news drop. I don't know if you're going to cover that, so maybe I just spoiled a later part of the show. But Joe,
it's all good. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But okay, it's all good.
Joe was basically saying that it made it seem like his future was a bit more uncertain than it seemed in previous seasons. Like, I feel like it errs on the side of like, I'm hopeful to be back. And I think that, the goal is for me to be back. But it also makes it sound like, I feel like you wouldn't have to say that if there wasn't a chance that you might not be back. But I just wanted to talk about, I mean, whether that's how he intended it or not, there's two people that this club has to keep until they decide to retire. It has to be Don Raul and Joe Tutino.
Word.
And Michael,
Word.
I'll throw Michael Araujo in there.
Yeah.
Michael Araujo, voice of the Galaxy as well, him and Joe. Those three absolutely have to stay in the organization at all costs. You can't. He's like, it makes the Galaxy so unique that we could have Joe Tutino as the voice of the club, and being, he's an advocate in the community. I see him on Twitter all the time. He's just a great guy. I had him on the podcast. I love Joe Tutino. He is an absolute legend of the club. He's a guy you can't lose, in my opinion. So even if this is at risk of losing Joe, I don't know how we've gotten to this point. It feels like he's a guy that has to be there year after year. I don't have a grasp of what the situation looks like. Maybe, I don't know why he might not be back. I don't want to speculate on that behalf, but if he's not back, that's very problematic for the Galaxy organization. Not have one of your legends, stay till he retires. He earned it.
Nah, definitely. I mean, you can't picture a world in which the Dodgers would say bye Vince Scully, or the Lakers would say bye Shaq Hearn. And we've had him here on the podcast too, man. And like, he'll be like, no, I'm not in the conversation with them, but it's up to his. And if there's any reason that the Galaxy are thinking of getting rid of him, I mean, that's folly. Like, don't mess up. Like, we do have a super chat from the homie XPH, executive producer Herb. Says, if Joe Tutino isn't back, I will start a boycott. You and me both, man. I mean, like that's one where, I'm sure myself, my colleague Andrew, our other colleagues in the press corps will, band together and just make our pens our weapons, or in this case, our computers, right? But thanks so much, XPH. Excuse me, guys. That I got overcome with emotion really quick, but it'd be a no way already. Oh man,
final gift of the 2025 season. On the Day of the Dead, my bobblehead dies. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's just a sign right there.
Yeah.
So speaking of, let's get into some Galaxy talk here. Guys, you know how we do here. One word match reactions. One word match reaction first to this game against Minnesota. Let's hit you up first, Andrew.
Yeah, one word is tough. I can think of little phrases, but
hit it.
I want to say nice. ...
Okay.
Those up till 90 minutes, up until extra time. I was speaking with Anthony, who unfortunately isn't here tonight, but I was telling him that I thought this was one of our better performances of the entire season. I couldn't remember feeling so calm, so confident, just relaxed watching a Galaxy game. It was total control, total domination, a lot of that tactical discipline that Vanny mentioned last time out. Just the boys doing what they had to do. It felt like a really complete performance. And then, the ellipsis comes in once we get into those 6 minutes of added time. We see a Gol Olímpico from Minnesota United, which how often do you get to see that? That was pretty unique. A red card. There was that substitution kind of debacle where Greg Vanny gets booked. All of that kind of coming towards the end of the game.
It was
but
so mad.
all of a sudden, it's just the temperature turned up to 1,000, and it was really, really interesting. Something else I told Anthony was that I was really glad that the final whistle blew when it did. There was that bicycle Chilena attempt right at the very end, one of the last kicks of the game. I mean, I felt time going slow motion. I really felt like that was going in. That was going to be this unreal level there. Thankfully, it didn't, but I felt like if we played another minute or two, just something crazy was going to happen. Those 6 minutes were pretty unreal. But besides that, I was really, really happy with the performance. Very complete. And, kind of reiterating what Maya Yoshida said after, what Diego Figueres has been saying, this team's performance in the especially this last half of the season, is just a whole other team than the one that went without a win in 16. It really felt like this is a team that can compete, and they showed them with some top teams in the conference, with some playoff teams. So
right,
it really puts a massive what if in your head. What if things weren't different? What if we didn't totally fall apart at the beginning of the year? What could we have done in the playoffs this year? It feels like, if we played like we did against Minnesota, maybe we could have competed against a lot of teams. But unfortunately, we're never going to get to see that. And it's about, putting that, I guess, just in your back pocket. It's a nice way to end the season. That's what I put on that was the title of my article, basically. Kind of my match recap was just ending on a high. There really wasn't much else this team could do besides that. Just put on a good performance for their fans on Fan Appreciation Night. But, they did their job, and it was nice to see that. Nice to see the celebrations after the fact. You show that picture of Mauricio getting that final large man of the match. That was a really cool moment to see. Alessandrini was there as well, which is nice. Great to see an alum.
Alessandrini.
Roland, yeah. Roman, digo. But, yeah, I mean, it was just a total, I would say, good performance. And then it ended in perfect 2025 Galaxy fashion with just, your heart in your throat. But they just encapsulated the season. So a good performance that makes you think a little bit about what could have been, but also what almost was, in the terms of us almost letting it slip at the very death there. So a lot to take from it, especially there at the end.
Yeah, well, I'll share some math with you in a little bit. That's gonna make that hurt a little bit more. That what could have been. It's gonna. You're gonna be like, what? I mean, anyway. But I'll share that math with you. I'm sorry to do it, but it must be done. We do have a super chat from Big Heck, from the Inland Empire Galaxy Fanatics. We would like to thank you guys for the support. Nah, man, thank you guys for the support. It's been a tough season, and honestly, like we're only here by grace of the Lord and you guys. So we've all done it together. It's been a lot of sad full hours all year, and thanks to you guys, we've made it. Big Heck, we do appreciate you all the time, man, for showing us that good hospitality whenever we go through there to Lot 13. And he says, oops, fanatics. We know, we got you. We figured it out, but thank you so much for the edit. We do appreciate it. We do appreciate everybody in chat. Big Pate, your turn, man. One word reaction to Minnesota.
Spoiler. This team is best when we have no pressure on them, no expectation, no pressure. This is a game where on paper you go against a Minnesota side that could have got third place in the Western Conference had they won this match against a, statistically way worse Galaxy side.
Truth.
But it's been different. It's been different like the past 5 to 10 games, honestly. Ever since this team has been virtually eliminated, they've played with ease. They've played with ease, and it seems like, we've had a couple losses here and there, like Dallas away, but like we haven't won in Dallas in over a decade. You know what I mean? Like we've had some games here and there where it hasn't been the greatest, but honestly, especially when we're playing at home, they feel calm. They feel composed out there, which is not what you saw from the first half of the season. That was a frantic LA Galaxy team. That was a team that didn't have belief in themselves. If you put that team that played the first half of the season out, if you play that team that put that played the first half of the season, they bottle that lead. It's just terrible luck that they had at the start. It felt like they never knew. Soccer is a sport where when you're winning, you can't stop winning. But when you're losing, you don't know how to win, and that really encapsulated the first 16 games that we went winless in. It wasn't a fact of, it wasn't a quality issue. There was some games that we played good. We held Kansas City to 0 shots and you still lose. It's a confidence thing, but they built into it as the season went along, and they got more relaxed, and they grew. Some players grew into the system. Nascimento didn't play most of the first half, but he grew into the team. He got more acclimated. We'll probably discuss later in this podcast whether we believe that we should, what we would do, whether we'd resign him or not. Could have been his last game. But this team's a spoiler. You know, how many years have we fell victim to teams playing spoiler to us? Now we finally get to the reversal of that. You know, maybe not our preference. Obviously, we'd rather be in the hunt or be in a playoff position, but you play with the cards that you're dealt with, that you're dealt. And this team, I feel like, has handled the second half very well. We could have been sitting here discussing a wooden spoon LA Galaxy team, but hey, even if they had relegation, we would have escaped relegation. Even in MLS, we didn't finish. We finished 26 out of 30. That being said, it looked like we were going to finish last at a point, and we were 2 games out of digging ourselves out of last place, and the team came together. End the season with 30 points. At least we didn't end in the 20s. We've never done that in a 34-game season. And although it's a all-time low record points through 34 games, I feel like there's some positives to take from how we finish this, and hopefully we can build some momentum into it. Yeah, I was pleased with that performance, honestly.
Well, we are going to go back to some Galaxy stuff here in a moment, but before we do, we're going to hit the folks with some news. You guys might have heard of this next fellow, Leo Messi. He just won the Golden Boot in MLS, scores a hat trick. That, like, this guy is not human, I don't think, because he scores a hat trick on decision day, and you're like, damn, what a buster! Like, he's going for the Golden Boot, and he just puts it beyond doubt by scoring a hat trick. But then the fact that he does it for the second year in a row, the fact that he's scored like 14 goals in the last 12 games that he played, just absolutely massive. Ends the year with 29 goals. He beats Denny Bouanga and Sam Surridge, who both end on 24. This is Miami's first ever Golden Boot winner, and now they're going to be going for it all, guys. They're going to be going for that big trophy. That's what they're really after. And another team that's going to be after it as well, even though they're an expansion team, is San Diego, who just took the West. They beat Vancouver to the West 1 seed. They both ended on 63 points, but San Diego beats them on the tiebreaker. This is the most all-time points for an expansion team. The Galaxy lost both matches to San Diego. If you guys remember, they lost the opening match of the season to San Diego on a horrible error, and then they lost the return leg in San Diego on a last-minute goal that they conceded. Just not a good time against San Diego for the Galaxy this year. The Galaxy recently played 2 games against this team, FC Dallas. Just get quick shout out to Jose Bromigos, whose FC Dallas team did clinch a berth in the MLS Cup playoffs, and they did so by beating Vancouver. If Vancouver had won, they would have beat San Diego to the Western Conference title. However, FC Dallas takes care of business on the road to take 7th. That means that they'll be making the playoffs against big expectations against them. Honestly, another team that wasn't really thought to make the playoffs and kind of put some stuff together at the end was RSL, who pipped San Jose and Colorado to a playoff spot. RSL tied St. Louis 2-2 to get that vital final point, guys, on the last match day on decision day, and they make the playoffs for the 5th year running. San Jose, of course, who took 10th. That's a huge failure for Bruce Arena's team. I remember in one of the opening pods of the year that we were saying that they were definitely going to be a playoff team, and the fact that they couldn't put it together with so many offensive weapons, big missed opportunity there. Another team that didn't make it is this guy's team, Chris Armas, who despite having a pretty decent squad as well, missed out on the playoffs. Chris Armas did lash out at one of our colleagues, Andrew, at against Matt Pollard. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Matt asked Chris Armas a question about missing the playoffs, and Armas kind of goes off on Matt Pollard here. To Chris Armas's credit, he did apologize to. He did call and apologize Matt Pollard, and he, I like this quote by Matt: wherever there is a human being, there's an opportunity for kindness. Seneca. If you know Matt, you know that he's an awesome guy, and of course he was going to forgive Chris Armas for his behavior, but it's just one of those things that you, as the league grows and as people start to cover this league, you hate to see this kind of thing because it dissuades people from covering. It dissuades any kind of a discourse, people covering this team, and guys, I mean, you guys cover MLS as well. I'm not sure if you guys saw this Chris Armas lash out at Matt Pollard, but what would you have done, Andrew? Like if you asked, Greg Vanney a question and he just like snapped off at you like that, man. I'm like, it's never happened to me, so I don't even know what I would do. What do you think you would do?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd feel awkward in the moment for sure. I feel like Matt's reaction is kind of a little bit of that, just kind of not really sure what to do because you don't expect that from people at this level. One of the biggest criticisms of Armas after that was kind of just a lack of professionalism. And he did sort of address that in his apology, that it was a very emotion-driven response, which I think you can see. But, I mean, yeah, I guess just to Armas's, to argue a little bit in his favor, it is tough. You can't imagine, making a mistake,
Right.
failing in some sort of project, and then immediately getting asked by someone on the outside if you think you're going to have a job, by the start of the next season, next quarter, whatever it is. It's a really interesting situation that, us plebeians maybe don't really have to face, but this is essentially what they sign up for. It's football. It's the biggest sport in the world, growing massively in the United States. And you're going to have to, face the music a little bit. There's a lot of people maybe wishing that Greg Vanney would have had to face it a little bit. But to be fair, I feel like I've asked him some pretty harder questions this year. Other reporters as well, yourself. It's not necessarily that we're throwing him softballs. It's just he knows how to compose himself. He's, you could say very PR trained. So this isn't something I'd ever expect of Vanney. But in terms of what I do, I think you kind of have to smile a little bit on the inside because this blew up. And in terms of, reactions, exposure for your brand, for your outlet, it's, definitely a good thing to get this type of thing from your question.
Right.
You get eyes on it at the end of the day. So you kind of just let the other person speak. It's one of those key things of interviewings, of doing an interview. If your subject wants to dig themselves a hole, you go ahead and let themselves dig. That's a bit of a spectacle for the audience, for the viewers. And at the end of the day, Matt, he did his job. It's to ask those tough questions, to, make things a little bit uncomfortable, but it's about getting a full story, a complete story. And, so hats off to Matt. Hats off to Chris Armas again after for going ahead and apologizing. But, really interesting situation. And I think kind of to your point that this league is growing. It's getting a lot more visible. It's, longer the days where what happens in MLS kind of goes under the radar and people, players or whatever it is, coaches go unrecognized. Now, there's just eyes on you now. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting situation. Congrats, I want to say to Matt, the Last Word on Sports team over there, because that's what, this reporting is. It's about getting those stories, those headlines, whatever it is. But, yeah, I mean, interesting situation to see unfold, but nice that it was an amicable response. I think it's a good touch, not just to put out an apology, but to go ahead and call Matt as well. I think that was classy.
Yeah. No, definitely classy. Peyton, can you envision a world in which, like Andrew said, Greg Vanney goes off like this? I mean, we've seen him very upset on the field, but to his credit, we always see him very composed. I mean, we have seen him emotional because of a Galaxy loss, but could you picture a Greg outburst like this?
I mean, not directly at a reporter, but I do remember a time during the Klein protests in 2023. I'll bring you guys back there. A reporter
Oh, and he
asked
was like, "Oh,
the
this is total bullshit."
yeah, a reporter asked the question about,
That was coming
how
Scott French.
yeah, he asked the question basically about how the protests are affecting the team. And he basically was like, I don't care who's, and he's like, I don't care who's at the game. He's like, like, I don't listen to the noise or whatever. And that became like a running inside joke in my friend group for like a few years, because it probably still to this day. It was just, they're humans. They're humans. Chris Armas, Greg Vanny, at least it wasn't at a reporter, although it felt like a slap in the face to the fans. But Chris Armas, he's a human. Greg Vanny's a human. These guys go back home to their families at the end of the days. They are no more. They're not superhuman. They have emotional outbursts. So I can understand why Chris Armas. If you had me in a reporter's booth after the Galaxy lost to Houston on decision day last year, I would have said some very, very, very bad things. Like, I'm just going to be honest. I would have probably got fired on the spot if the pressure that these coaches have to face. And I feel like the only part where he really went wrong was kind of going down the narrative of like, you always have something bad to say about our team. You never report anything good, because I feel like that, is obviously unprofessional, but when you're a team like the Colorado Rapids that hasn't done anything really groundbreaking in the, probably since when they topped the West in 2021, I think it was, you're going to receive criticism. And a lot of it's fair and directed at the ownership. I think Kroenke's done a terrible job at running that team. I think you're going to have to accept that if your team's not performing, people have every right to criticize you, your coaching staff, the ownership. It's going to happen. So I felt like that was the part where he really, went wrong. But the fact that he apologized, at least he owned up to it. He could have so easily just been like, well, I'm going to be out of here anyway. If he truly is getting fired, he could have been like, well, I'm going to be out of here anyway. I don't care. I'm not going to have to deal. He could have so easily not apologized to anybody. So the fact that he did take the time to personally address the guy too, it's good. That is a proper response. So I think, it seems like all is sorted out in that situation. Who knows? I don't personally. I know Matt said that he thinks that he is the guy to lead the Rapids. It's not my team, but I don't think he's the guy for them. But hey, he knows more about the Rapids than I do. But
yeah, Matt knows ball.
Yeah.
He's from my hometown, actually. But I mean, it's good to see like so many people go ahead and stand up for Pollard. So shout out to him wherever he's at. We do have another super chat from the homie Adam. Thank you so much. The only two teams I don't want, I'm assuming that means I don't want winning MLS Cup is Inter Miami or Team Across Town. The two popular teams preferred by Don Garber, the commissioner. Don't say that too loud, Adam. He'll come for us, man. He'll go ahead and cancel us, man. You don't know how these things work around here. He'll be like, oh, these guys are having too much fun out there, so no, we got to cancel them.
They're no credentials.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what? They're dunzos. But yeah, no, I mean we are in the full playoff swing, guys. So we do have the playoffs kicking off on Wednesday with the wild card matches in the East. You have Chicago playing Orlando at 5:30 in Chicago, and on the Western side, you have Portland versus Real Salt Lake at 7:30. That one kicks off in Portland and Providence Park, and yeah, then you have all the rest of the matches here. Round one mostly kicks off across a couple of days here, across the 24th, 25th, 26th. Round two is going to be on the weekend, November 1st, November 2nd, November 3rd. So you guys go ahead and, pick your backup team right now, because right now the the Galaxy don't. They're not in the playoffs. So, but I still want to keep watching ball. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a secondary team, but I don't know who that is yet. But what first round matchup are you guys looking most towards? Big Pay. What are you like interested at all in the playoffs right now? Or are you like Galaxy are out? Who cares?
Well, it's unfortunate that we have to hate watch because there's some real good matchups in here.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Hell is Real derby in the first round. I get it. Columbus are the 7th seed, but this could so easily go in their favor. Like, it's a derby. It's a derby. And seeing that in a best of 3 format is going to be, have we seen that yet? Have we seen a rivalry match in a real rivalry in the best of 3? I don't think we have. So I think that match is looking real good. And then outside of that, I would also point to, I think Minnesota Seattle's another interesting one. I think they're very similarly, similar in terms of skill level this year. I think Seattle's kind of faltered a bit. I know Pedro de la Vega has been a big part of their season, is going to be out. I think for the remainder of it, he made it sound like. Minnesota coming off the loss to the Galaxy, but they have home field advantage here. I originally picked Minnesota to win MLS Cup a few months ago. Currently have a bet on that, but I'm gonna say it's okay. I know this is talking about first round, but it's unfortunately gonna be Miami. I'm fine with anyone out of the East, honestly. Anybody out of the East over anybody out of the West. But if I had to pick one to not win from the East, it'd be Miami. But it just feels like it's their year. There's no way Messi doesn't win an MLS Cup. They have 4 DPs. There's no way they don't win MLS Cup this season. It's a crapshoot though. Cincy are a good team, but they kind of faltered. In the East, Philly as the number 1 seed is just a predicted crash out. Like, no disrespect. I think Bradley Carnell has done a great job over there. I don't think they're going to make the conference final. And maybe this will be used on a clip of an edit for a Philadelphia Union fan. But I don't believe, exactly. I don't believe that they're going to be perennial contenders by any means. But I can applaud the fact that a first-year head coach has lifted them into that position. I would have never guessed that Philly would have topped the East. But yeah, Hell is Real derby is the match that I would pen in as the one to watch in the first round. But I think it's Miami's year. But that crosstown team, both of the California teams in the playoffs piss me off because like right now, ever since, Chivas USA landed Heung-min Son, him and Boang have been alternating hat tricks like every other game. And it's like, well, what can we do? It's like, what can we do about that? I would hate to see them get that second star. San Diego looked like the biggest threat to them. And it's like, gosh, can it get any worse out of the West? I feel like it's going to be one of those teams representing the West in MLS Cup. And I hate it.
Big Pay, you know what, man? Maybe somebody will clip this of me. Maybe a San Diego fan will, but I don't think they're gonna do much. I think they're gonna be like St. Louis was a couple years ago, where they did really well in the regular season and they took first place, and then they crashed out in the I believe it was the first round. No shade to them. I just don't. You need experience, right? And you need. They don't have it. But again, prove me wrong. Who knows? Maybe somebody will be like, "Oh, this guy got it totally wrong." But anyway, Andrew, what do you think, man? For first round matchups here, what you got on it? What are you excited to see?
Yeah, personally, I'm looking forward to the Seattle-Minnesota matchup. I think that's a really interesting one. And I'm going to be in Minnesota in November, so I'm hoping, they go ahead and win that best-of-3 series. I'd love to be over there at the Allianz, catch a game. But that'll be an interesting one. Both teams, I think, have been really strong this year. Minnesota sat at the top of the West for a good portion of it, kind of faltered a little bit, but they have that play style. It's just, sit back, attack. But but then again, the Galaxy seemed to neutralize them a lot. They did have a couple of good chances. Mikovic came up with some good saves. But I think it's interesting in Seattle. I mean, especially as Galaxy fans, I think we know how good Seattle are. We faced, the brunt of, I think, that firepower, especially how hot they were coming out of the Club World Cup. I feel like they're going to want to step into that form. Like Peyton mentioned, they are going to be missing some big pieces, but it's still, a super strong team, super organized. I love the way they play. I think it's really fun to watch. It's just pretty football. So it's, the two antithesis of how to play soccer. It's to hold the ball, control, create, some good chances, or to go ahead and, I called it blitzkrieg style in an article recently, just go out, smash and grab. So I'm really looking forward to that. Personally, I am going to be rooting for Minnesota there just because I want to watch some more playoff soccer while I'm in town. But besides that, like Peyton mentioned, that Hell is Real Derby is going to be a really, really fun watch as well. Playoff a derby, it doesn't really get more tense than that, high stakes. So just for the vibe of it, it's going to be class, and both sets of fans are really top as well. So looking forward to seeing both of those home games and to see who takes that home. Another thing, I mean, it is a hate watch, but also like you kind of admire it. It's just what LAFC have been doing to sort of close out this year. It's just been nuts to see. Heung-min Son, that whole spectacle. I didn't think it was gonna be as effective as it was, but
yeah,
he's the same player he was in Tottenham, which really shouldn't be surprising. He's a top professional, but I think it's blown away everybody's expectations of what that duo can achieve. So just those two alone, if they're healthy, it does feel like they can make a pretty deep run. And again, it's just fun to see.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Andrew.
No, but just looking forward to see that. And then I guess the other team to hate watch, like Peyton mentioned, is Inter Miami, but it's just a star-studded lineup. But I feel like most of the league is going to be looking to see who can knock them down. And for me, I think it is Philly. Like, for a lot of the reasons I think that Peyton mentioned that they might not have it, I think they do. I was in Philly pretty recently. I got to meet up with Jimmy King, who's been covering the team for Philly's sports network up there. But just that underdog grit, that's exactly, it's the thesis, that DNA of Philadelphia sports. It's, the push, let's say. There you go, the Rocky Balboa. It's about coming up and, relishing in not being counted on. And they're a team, who surprised everybody by getting the supporter shield when, beating out teams like this Inter Miami, like this LAFC, who have these massive stars. They're a massive unit, and they have some great players there as well. I think they also play a great brand of football, also really nice to see. So I'll be rooting for them as well. I fell in love a little bit with the city of Philadelphia. Shout out to Jimmy as well for showing me around. But yeah, I mean, just going based on places I've gotten to travel to this year, I'll be rooting. Those cities have sort of taken a little bit of a soft spot in my heart, and I'm looking forward. I'm glad that a lot of them have some pretty solid teams. So I mean, MLS playoffs, it's always a blast. There's always things that are unexpected are going to happen. So, who knows? Maybe Inter Miami does crash out in the first round, whatever it is. But it's worth watching, I think. It's going to be a show, a spectacle. And it's really interesting what Apple TV did to take away, I believe it was the MLS Plus that requirement. So again, more eyes can get to see that, more eyes can get engaged.
Exactly.
Especially as this World Cup opens up. There's gonna be some World Cup players in this playoff run, so it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it, and it obviously sucks that the Galaxy aren't part of it, but half of me just likes the idea of getting to sit back and relax and just enjoy the footy. And in my mind, something I wrote about back in like February, maybe March, was that the whole point of this season was to prepare for 26 and 27. So I discounted this whole year, a long time ago. I didn't expect it to go as bad as it did, but I wasn't too surprised, to be honest. So I'm looking forward to just getting the chance to enjoy the football, and really take in these narratives, more broadly. When the Galaxy are in the playoffs, I'm very much laser focused on how those teams do. Really, I'm just looking at who their opponent is. I'm not really taking a part in all the other narratives. And, I have missed out on some great storylines. So I am looking forward to just getting a chance to enjoy it more as a fan than a supporter, I guess. A fan of footy in general rather than a supporter of my team. But it'll be fun regardless. But going for the Loons.
Well, I'm going to ask you to focus on the Galaxy one more time, because we do have a match reaction to go ahead and get out of the way for the folk here in chat. But before we get into it, y'all go ahead and hit us up with those socials. Let us know where we can find you, where we can find your work. Peyton, hit us up, man. Go ahead and start us off.
LA Galaxy _buzz on Instagram. Make sure to go follow. And then additionally, I just started a photography account, so I'm gonna plug some personal here.
Oh yeah.
Get it.
Peyton _shot_it is my photography account. I'm just getting into that. I should have a post up tomorrow. I'm shooting soccer.
Way
for
cool,
UC
man.
Irvine. So yeah, feel free to check those out. But go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Rob. Appreciate it, Peyton. More than anything, I'm on Twitter. Very old school. I love, the written form, but you can find me there at NGF Andrew, as you see on the screen. You can subscribe to Los Angeles Sports Nation. We got weekly articles coming out there. We just dropped our last one of the regular season on Sunday morning. So go ahead and check that out. But we'll definitely have coverage of the off season, all the moves. There's going to be a lot going on. That's something else I've talked about this season that I'm so stoked to see what moves, we go ahead and do. So we'll be covering all of that for you there. We'll be covering that game against America. We'll be covering, this windmill, this rumor mill that has already started. We did see a little bit of like that Will Kuhn situation, interviewing with St. Louis that, got debunked by Josh pretty quickly. But there's going to be a lot of news like that. So if you want to, discern what's real, what's not, go ahead and subscribe for free there. You'll get free articles and follow the socials as well, so you can be up to date with everything to the minute.
Y'all heard, you guys have two great sources of valuable Galaxy news here. Go ahead and follow. Go ahead and hit the likes on their content. Go ahead and for the homie Andrew, definitely support that written word, man. I mean, we see in the past couple of weeks how there was a small I guess like controversy over MLS employing AI writers to do game write-ups. So go ahead and support the people that are actually doing the written work. Go ahead and support Andrew's articles, man. Go ahead and hit those reads. Go ahead and give them those views, and definitely go ahead and support the homie Peyton as well. Guys, it's time. We got to get into it. The Galaxy had their last game of the season, game 34 of a grueling 2025 season. When I'm not even gonna front, I called a loss for this one, or at best a tie, because of the quality that Minnesota has. But I was completely surprised, and Galaxy fans, for the most part, left as happy as this gentleman is there. Guys, we already talked about our one-word match reactions and everything. We touched on this match very, very briefly, but now we're going to start where we normally start. We're gonna get into this lineup, and before we get into the lineup, we got to look at who Greg had in his locker to go ahead and throw out there in his starting lineup. Of course, he had the long-standing Riqui Puig out, Marco Reus, Lucas Sanabria, Julian Aude were out through injury, and then Isaiah Parente was out suspended. Gents, this starting lineup comes out, and there aren't a lot of surprises in this one, but did you expect what you were going to be seeing? Peyton, what do you think? Let's go ahead and start with you. Were you surprised by anything that you saw in the starting lineup?
Not really. I mean, given all the injuries and whatnot, I'm not surprised that they threw out like a first choice lineup pretty much for what we had. Cuevas winning Lars Player of the Year, I think, has been very deserved. I would like to throw shout in for our red card man, Edwin Cerrillo there. Had a conversation with my dad about what you rate Edwin Cerrillo season as, and kind of how important he is to that team. I feel like, he's received a lot of criticism I've seen online, but I feel like he's been so pivotal to everything that the Galaxy do. But lineup wise, not really surprising. It was good to see that front three. It was good to see that front three back in action, because could be a preview of the same front three that we run next season. So yeah, and Winder breaking into the team, he's been fantastic.
Yeah.
He came back into the squad, and he's not leaving that starting spot for the time being. I think with Edwin Cerrillo out for the first game next year, we don't know what the squad's going to look like, but I'm a lot more comfortable with Winder slotting into the starting midfield role, honestly.
What about you, Andrew? Did you see anything here that surprised you, or were you kind of expecting this starting 11 from Greg?
Yeah, kind of like what Peyton mentioned. Whatever we saw, what the injuries would be, the availability report. This is kind of, I feel like 90% of Galaxy fans would have predicted this lineup. It's just the best of what we had. It was the most clear options. And I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off him as well with, just highlighting those players. Edwin Cerrillo, I feel like he's grown a ton. He's matured so much as a player this year. At the end of 2024, he was kind of seen as like that backup option, kind of a rotation with Brugman, with Puig, with Royce there. He was kind of a little bit more so the odd man out. But then to start this 2025 year, he immediately had to become sort of the leader, kind of that rock, replace some massive losses that we had. Mark Delgado as well. We can't forget him, a massive, massive loss. So there's just a massive hole in that midfield. I feel like that was the biggest question mark as to what the roster would be. And he did struggle because it was just, the task was so different from being a rotation piece to being the main guy in the midfield. It's going to take a lot of time to grow into that, especially when you don't count on, the get out of jail free card that is Riqui Puig, who can get you out of so many situations. He just had to grow so much, but he hasn't just become a better footballer because of it. He's become a better leader. I want to say I wouldn't be surprised to see him wear the armband at some point in the future. I just feel like he's grown so much. There's these moments that I really loved in that game against Orlando in Leagues Cup, where you see him just point at Elijah Winder, kind of direct him, and really orchestrating that midfield. And that's what sets up that opening goal there in that game. But it just shows you the growth he's had from struggling a little bit to find his footing to becoming the orchestrator and leading this team from the middle of the park, being so solid, not really missing many games through injury, through suspension, through anything like that. He's just been there, and that's been massive for the future of this team. It could have been a much, much scarier, which is funny to say considering how bad the season was, but it could have been a lot worse if he didn't have development he had. And Elijah Winder as well. I really feel like he's found his home in Greg Vanney's system. Seeing him take up that starting spot in that game against Dallas was kind of like a revelation. It felt like a whole new version of Elijah Winder. It just seemed to fit so perfectly, and it makes the most of his attributes. We've talked about it all year. He's someone who has the physicality, who has the legs, who has the energy, and this is where we really got to see him make the most of that. And beyond that, I was still surprised with his composure on the ball. I felt like he hardly misplaced a pass, and then he put in some really incisive passes as well. Really keen eye on goal. I felt like he was a bit unlucky not to get 2 assists with Joseph Painzel hitting the post, kind of assisting himself on that second one. But he's just such a stud. And I don't know, I saw it in that first game, that home opener. He had that cameo when we were looking for a goal, and that was Greg Vanney's instruction: get out there, find us a goal. And he was making those runs, kind of showing up in attacking spots. He made 1 or 2 really incisive passes. But that was really kind of the game situation. Besides that, throughout the rest of the year, he was kind of in a more holding spot, just not as attacking. And with him having to learn more of the system and being in a spot that I don't think complemented his attributes, he seemed to struggle. So when we do finally get to see him take up this more attacking role and just show off his talent, it's a whole other player, I think. So it's a bit of a shame that it took until the last 2 games for Greg Vanney to kind of figure that out. But now that we do know that, I'm excited for what Elijah Winder is going to do in 2025. So him, Cerrillo, just massive, massive, hats off to both of them. They had really big years.
Yeah, no, we do have Brandon Worship here. He lets us know I rate Cerrillo season the 6-7, no pun intended. He basically played every minute. He had no help. Fagundes, Royce, and Sanabria are why Cerrillo didn't look good this year. Personally, was critical. There's elements of truth to what Brandon was saying. I mean, Cerrillo was playing a very, very different game than last year. Andrew mentioned, having Riqui Puig playing alongside you. That's one reason. Another reason is Delgado. I mean, next year when Riqui Puig is back, you expect a revitalized Cerrillo as well. That looks different as well. Guys, for those of you who weren't watching this match, who for whatever reason missed it, well, let me catch you up on game. The reigning MLS Cup champion still until somebody else gets it. The reigning MLS Cup champion LA Galaxy ended their 2025 season with a 2-1 win over Minnesota United on Fan Appreciation Night. This man scored an early goal, Matheus Nascimento, in the 12th minute. He made it 1-0. That's the fourth of the season for him. Elijah Winder goes ahead and gets on the cross for this one, and Nascimento goes ahead and half volleys it home. Well, I think it's more of a half volley than a volley, but and then a second half strike by Joseph Painso extends the lead and sets the tone for the rest of the match, where he gets this beautiful pass by Elijah, hits the post, and scores it, because we see a little bit more wacky and weird things happen in the last phase of the game. But that goal marked Joseph Painsel's 10th goal of the campaign, and that earns him the Golden Boot for the Galaxy, guys. He got that good pass from Elijah Winder. Andrew was talking about his progression this year. You can see that in this play, how Elijah picks up the ball, gobbles up space, and then hits Joseph Painsil on the fly, and then he scores that goal in the 52nd minute to make it 2-0, and that's really where it should have ended. Only, as everybody has mentioned this year on this pod tonight, rather, this game was like a mini version of 2025, in that the Galaxy conceded late off a set piece, and everybody was nervous towards the end. Joaquin Pereira gets the 95th minute, and then to add insult to injury, Edwin Cerrillo gets a late red card, which means he will miss the season opener next year, like Andrew mentioned. And this is one of those things, guys, that you go, really, is this team really showing us just in a very, very micro way who exactly they are? I was just stunned that they basically just imploded there in the last couple minutes. Yeah. Like a set piece goal, red card, and you're like, man, if like Andrew, you said it exactly. If this game had gone on any longer, maybe we need to be talking about a tie right now. But for the rest of the match, the Galaxy finally beat a good team, and they did it convincingly. I mean, we saw that Minnesota for the big parts of this match didn't really look in it. They only had 4 shots on target, only 2 big chances conceded by the Galaxy, and they were able to break down a pretty normally well organized defensive Minnesota team, which means that the Galaxy end the year on a positive note. That means a 2-game home win streak. They win 3 of their last 4 MLS games, and courtesy of our good friend and colleague Mike Gray, he let us know that since beating RSL to break that 16-game winless streak, the Galaxy are 10-8-6 in all competitions, guys. So they did end the year on a high. They gave the fans something to go home happy about. But for me, this is what it's all about for next year. The emergence of young players like Harbor Miller, Elijah Winder and Mauricio Cuevas. Greg was asked directly in the post-match press conference. Andrew, you were there. You heard it. I mean, if he feels like the Galaxy are kind of ahead of the curve, and he said that he certainly feels like if these players continue making that next step, that they could be, but that they'll need to get deeper because of the fixture condition that's going to be happening next year due to the World Cup. Guys, I'll pose you the same question. Are the Galaxy ahead of the curve for next year? I mean, you have Elijah Winder showing what he's made of here in the last couple. You have Mauricio Cuevas fighting to take over that spot from Mickey Yamane, and you have a real valuable prospect in Harbor Miller. Is it time to let these guys get into the first team and get meaningful minutes and contribute? Peyton, let's go ahead and go with you first, man.
It's time. It is absolutely time, in my opinion. I think when it comes to the LA Galaxy's youth development, if you want to be a club that young players want to come to, you need to be giving them significant minutes when they're ready to make that step. Everything Harbor Miller is showing us so far in his brief appearances is that he's more than ready to play for the LA Galaxy. Cuevas, Lars Player of the Year, he's been phenomenal at right back. And in my opinion, I would find a way to offload Miki Amane's salary, in my opinion, because maybe that's a little harsh. Maybe I'm more critical on Miki Amane than most people are, but I feel like the salary that he's making doesn't constitute not being our best right back. And that position needs to be Cuevas. You can't have a 900K backup right back. But when you have a guy that needs to be starting going forward with Cuevas, you got depth there too. You got Cuevas and you got Harbor Miller. And in my opinion, I think those are your right backs of the future for the LA Galaxy. Greg Vanney's discussed the fact that he sees Harbor Miller as a right back. So I think those are your guys for that position. And then when it comes to Elijah Winder, I agree with Brandon in the chat. I think this midfield needs one more piece, though. One more starting piece alongside Riqui and Edwin Cerrillo. Winder could obviously be the first guy off of the bench, but I don't think Sanabria is that guy. And, not to just reiterate the same rhetoric I've been saying, I don't feel like Sanabria is ready to take over that starting midfield position. And if he's starting game week 1, I think we have a lot of concerns. We have money to spend. There's no excuses to not get, in my opinion, a starting center back and a midfielder. But going back to the original question, I do think that it is time to give some of these young guys minutes, because look what happens when you don't have a pathway. A young U.S. youth national team goalkeeper and Owen Pratt ends up going to the Chicago Fire because at least from my understanding, Chicago's goalkeeper, they're very good at developing their goalkeepers. Look at Chris Brady. Look at Gaga Slanina. I think they've done an incredible job at getting these guys into Europe. So I gotta give them their flowers. But I think there's an issue if you're a young youth goalkeeper that has bright potential. In my opinion, I would have made him the third choice next year. Maybe that's a little too soon for his age, but I would have made him the third choice, but the Ventura County starter, and then try to nurture him into that starting position with time.
Yeah, we did talk about that on Talking Galaxy before.
Yeah, and he ends up leaving for Chicago. And if you don't give these guys a pathway, they'll find somewhere else. Harbor Miller could end up finding
they want to play.
Other teams will see value in their potential. And if we're not that team, then we're going to be sitting here looking at a guy like Harbor Miller scoring against us in a few years. So it really comes down to how much trust do you have in these guys? And in my opinion, I think they've shown enough throughout the course of this season. They're hungry. They're hungry. They want to go to Europe. You need players that are ready to go. Cuevas already went to Europe, but he wants to go back. I'm so sure of it. So you get these guys the opportunity, give them minutes. And in my opinion, I think you have your two right backs right there in Harbor Miller and Mauricio Cuevas. Let them duel it out for the position. But in my opinion, I think Cuevas would be the starter in that role. But it's time. It's time to go in a bit of a youth direction because we have good prospects on our hands.
What do you think, Andrew? Or is the Galaxy ahead of the curve for next year? Are these players going to be valuable contributors, do you think, or do you expect the Galaxy to stick with maybe somebody like Mickey Yamane?
No, I think absolutely. And, I've been singing the praises of Harbor Miller, of Elijah Winder, even players like Sanabria, who maybe haven't done so much. But I've been, screaming it from the rooftops that these young players, they're ready now. I feel like they've shown it. They've gone ahead and gotten results. And I feel like on a more complete team, they would have been a big part of a lot more wins this year. So I really do think they're ready. And, I asked Dan Kalichman about it when Greg Vanney was suspended in that game against Sporting Kansas City. I asked him exactly about Harbor Miller, about Elijah Winder. If these young players doing the business now, showing that they're ready for the level, if they're going to go ahead and have a part in the decisions for next year. And he said they absolutely are. And that, that was back in September. So I hope at least that the front office, the decision makers have kind of flipped the switch a little bit. They've noticed that these young players already now, like Peyton mentioned, they're hungry and they're performing, they're showing it. It's not like we're rewarding them just for having grit, but they're, getting goal contributions. They're being massive parts. They're filling big holes. So, that's massive. And when you think about what the Galaxy's long standing issue, it's been, cap space, finding room in a salary. And these younger players are traditionally a lot more cap friendly. So if we can capitalize them and give them big rotation pieces, even starting minutes, that gives us a lot more room to open up and maybe keep players like a Dejan Joveljic, like a Mark Delgado, whatever it is, or go out and acquire some new pieces, like we mentioned at the top of the show, Lewandowski, whatever it is. But you get to create a deeper roster. It opens up so much more room to play with when you're not spending, 1.2 million on someone you can maybe pay 400, 300K in the form of one of these younger guys. So it would open up so much for the Galaxy if we did go ahead and put our trust in these guys who deserved it. So to me, it's a no-brainer. And judging from the answers from people like Dan Kalichman, from Greg Vanney, you would really hope that the front office is starting to change their tune a little bit. And like Peyton mentioned, let this club become that pathway. There's so much talent here in Los Angeles. We're seeing, Nathan Ordaz kill it with LAFC, with La Selecta being, massive at a young age. And that's because he's been given that opportunity. And we have, similar talents here, I want to say. Like, to me, Harbor Miller, he's such a stud. So, yeah, I think all these signs are just pointing to it being in the Galaxy's interest to give these young players a chance. It's going to help them in terms of salary space, in terms of constructing a deep roster. So I think it would be really, really ill-advised if we didn't. And that's one of the main things I want to be looking toward in this offseason.
Yeah, we've spoke about it a couple times with and on to here on this pod, is that we believe the children are the future, so teach them well and let them lead the way. So if you know, I think that song may be too old for you guys, but like I said, if you know. Since I just mentioned Ananda, guys, I want to go ahead and do a quick homage to him. He is the stats guy, as you know, but tonight I'm going to be the stats guy for a quick moment. And he's been doing this thing called like a one key stat. Well, I'm going to do two key stats here. The Galaxy this year have at times suffered from a lack of physicality, a lack of grit, a lack of workman-like attitude. And I believe that they get this win here through two main stats here: tackles and duels won. Bruce Arena always used to say, when you play, just win your duels, right? And that's how he had so many great Galaxy teams. Just win your duels. The Galaxy won 44-39 here in duels. And then tackles, 19-12. So they really did get stuck in. They really put in the work to go ahead and take this match. But unfortunately, guys, there can only be one defending the badge winner. We do have our candidates here from Lacuna, Mateus Nascimento, Elijah Winder, Joseph Paintsill, and John Nelson. Of course, Mateus Nascimento, goal scorer. Elijah Winder with his assists. Joseph Painso with the goal, and then John Nelson with a solid defensive performance. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys think in chat and hear these fine gentlemen that are accompanying me this evening. So chat, let us know who your defending the badge winner is, who you think showed the most heart, the most drive for the badge in this match. Dale, Andrew, Dinos, who's your defending the badge winner?
Yeah, if I can, have the liberty of going on a bit of a yap session, I'd like to talk a little bit about all four of these guys. Yeah, so I guess to start with John Nelson, like our homie G Cam in the chat says, he's a GOAT. I feel like he's really surprised myself, and I hope a lot of people this year. I got the chance to speak with him in that last game against Dallas, the game we won. And he's really been making a concerted effort at changing the narrative. Right now, I feel like what a lot of people, when they think of our left backs, when they compare John Nelson and Julian Alde, they think that Julian Alde is the more attacking of the two. John Nelson is your more stay-at-home guy, just defend. And I feel like Nelson has done a really, really good job at kind of maybe switching that narrative, or at least presenting the argument that he's a lot more well-rounded than people give him credit for. I've noticed so many times how he loves to step into the midfield, not necessarily dance along the wing like Julian Alde likes to do, but he'll drive directly into the midfield, more towards the center of the park, and lay off a good pass, find an attacker. I think of a goal that he set up for Harbor Miller, where he kind of just takes a really nice touch, receiving the ball from behind, drives into that midfield space, just takes up that pocket, hungry for it, dribbles a player, and then puts on a good pass, sets up the goal for Miller. So it's just moments like that, which he's had throughout the season, that added to his defensive stability, make him, to me, a really, really valuable player. For me, I think he's my number one left back, just because he's starting to do it all. And another big thing is one of the best abilities is availability, and John Nelson has been there. Julian Alde, unfortunately, for all the potential he has struggled with injuries throughout his time with the Galaxy. Whereas Nelson, he hasn't been here as long, but I feel like he's getting close in terms of appearances, just because he's been there. And yeah, just massive credit to him for really kind of taking control of that narrative and showing people with his play that he's not just a stay-at-home guy. He's really revitalized, I want to say, his career since coming into St. Louis. That was a big point he made when we spoke. It's that, there's a point where his career looked almost over, but now he's here and he's looking like one of the most complete left backs in the league. So massive kudos to him. Next, we got Mateus Nascimento. Maybe scored in his last game for the LA Galaxy, but he's someone I've talked at length about as well. He's such a perfect Vanny striker. When we think of Dejan Joveljic and, the growth, the amount of time that we had to invest and kind of wait for him to become that Vanny striker, I feel like with Nascimento, we have that kind of just more advanced. There was a long time with Joveljic where I felt like he just couldn't control a pass. It felt like he was a brick wall or something. Balls were bouncing off him. He couldn't control. There was that era where he was a super sub and you had to give him a good pass and he would convert it. But besides that, he wouldn't do much for you in the build up. Whereas Nascimento, I feel like, has this fantastic football IQ. He knows what spaces to take up. He has a touch to lay off a good pass. So, to be subtle on the ball or to be explosive, create his own shot. To finish like he did off a uncomfortable type half volley type situation, but he knows how to put the goal in the net there. So personally, I feel like that's all just the hallmarks of a Greg Vanny striker, someone that we can develop. And again, I think he's a lot more advanced than Dejan Joveljic was when we got him. So I think this is a player that is worth investing in, that can become that top guy in 2026, 2027. I would be definitely disappointed if he doesn't stay, but I think Botafogo knows the quality of player they have. He's the youngest player in Botafogo history to go ahead and start in their first team. He's a stud. So it's going to be an interesting conversation that the front offices have, but he's a player who I've really enjoyed watching, and fingers crossed that we do get to stick with him next year. Next up, we got Joseph Painso, who for me is one of the players of the year. I think not beyond just being the Golden Boot winner. Sorry, he's been this massive just reference point in terms of mentality. I think there's the beginning of the season where he was injured, wasn't able to buy a goal, whatever it was. But in his appearances, you know, he went up to 10 goals and 10 goals and 5 assists this year, which when you look back to 2024 is just 5 assists less than he had last year with Riqui Puig next to him. So in terms of goal scoring, he didn't fall off because Riqui Puig wasn't there. He stayed consistent, got those exact same 10 goals. Maybe got a couple less assists, you know, not having Riqui Puig there is going to do that. Not having a standalone striker throughout the year is going to do that. But still, to go to only 5 assists less in a championship, from a championship winning year to an almost wooden spoon year, I think, you know, when we talk about players like Gabriel Peck, who obviously struggled a lot this year, you could attribute that to maybe having Riqui Puig there or not. But Joseph Painter was a player who didn't necessarily let that affect him. So to really be consistent despite the challenges of this year, I think that's massive. And it obviously helped us a ton get the points that we did end up getting this year. And, you know, last but not least, Elijah Winder, for me, he's my man of the match. He's my defending the badge. Again, unlucky not to have 2 assists in that game. Would have been 3 goal contributions in just 2 games for him. But I feel like he's just fitting so perfectly into this Vanny system. Coming in as the USL Player of the Year. He struggled when we talk about, you know, young players. There's people like Harbour Miller who came in and they seem to just immediately fit into the system. But that's credit to being part of this academy for a long time. We spoke with Dan Kalichman about it, and he said that once you're in that academy, it's really just about learning how to play the game faster. And Harbour Miller was able to do that quicker. Whereas with a player like Winder, with a player like Sanabria, you're having to, you know, not just move either states or move countries entirely, move continents. It's about learning a play system, learning a culture. There's so much learning to do on the pitch. It's not just about learning how to play faster. It's about growing up. It's about, there's just so much more in your head when you're just not as comfortable, when you don't have that education. But Elijah Winder, you know, took that on the chin. He got to work. He learned the system. And now it looks like he's been here forever, basically. Really, really high ceiling for this kid. Such a great work ethic, such high potential. And so I'm really super excited for him. And again, to me, in my eyes, he does have 2 assists in this game. He's my defending the badge. But all of these guys, big studs.
Mine too. He's you know, he's got those 2 assists. Don't take that from him. Big Pay, you have Andrew going for Elijah Winder here as the defending the badge winner. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a bit different, although that was my original pick. I'm gonna go with Joseph Painter on this one. I feel like Joseph Painter, just, you know, not even talking performance wise, this guy's my captain next year. If I'm Greg Vanny, I'm making him captain of the LA Galaxy. I love this guy's game, and in fact, I think that he hurts more than Gabriel Peck by not having Riqui Puig, because, you know, I've talked about it on previous podcasts, especially on Talking Galaxy. If you watch that, you've heard me say this. Joseph Painter is a player who needs like such a specific type of ball in behind to match his runs, to match his speed. Somebody that understands that. And that guy, in my opinion,
sees the space.
It's Riqui Puig, because he has that vision. He's the best midfielder in Major League Soccer. He misses Riqui Puig more than anybody else on the LA Galaxy, in my opinion. And yet, he still has 10 goals. He got a goal in this game. It was an incredible ball by Elijah Winder. Incredible ball by him. But I think Joseph Painter is a real leader in this locker room, in my opinion. And on the field, he's been incredible. The runs that he makes has been there all season, in my opinion. There's just been times where we haven't had somebody on, you know, to get him that ball in the right spots, but he's been making the same runs. Gabriel Peck's more of a weird case to me. You know, could be a sophomore slump. And yeah, of course he misses Riqui too, but I love what Joseph Painter. I feel like he's got his confidence back. He feels like a man on fire. Ghana made the World Cup. Congratulations to them. That's going to boost his morale. He wants to be a part of that Ghana squad next year that goes into the World Cup. Not only that, he wants to probably be one of the first people off the bench, because I know they have, I believe, Semenyo and Kudus on the wing.
Yeah.
So, you're just not going to start. You're not going to start when those two players are respectively lighting up the Premier League. But he can be the first guy off the bench. And he wants to be that guy. He wants to be involved in the Ghana squad. He wants to have a big role in it. So he's going to be a man on a mission next year, and you could see it now. You could see that the flame, there's fire under him. There's fire under him, and he's moving like a man with urgency, and I love to see that from Joseph Paintsil. Incredible fan of his game, and he just looks confident even in the shooting. That run was incredible. Like, all props to Winder on the ball, but Paintsil just darted like he was relentless towards goal. I was like, holy crap, he's shooting this at full speed. Like, he's shooting this in the middle of a
That's
sprint.
what Greg wants.
Yeah, and it works because he has that confidence right now, and I love to see it from Joseph Paintsil. That is what you need to see more of next season, and I think you're going to see it. Early prediction, I think he wins the Galaxy Golden Boot. I have no clue who's going to be up top next year, but I think he wins the Galaxy Golden Boot next year. People were very hard on him. People were very hard on him throughout the course of the season, but I think he's responded extremely well to everything. There's been times where people have been saying, like, I've heard them say that he's like Cabral 2.0 or something. Like, watch Joseph Paintsil play.
That's extreme.
Like, yeah, watch Joseph Paintsil play with your eyes, and you'll understand that this has been the same guy all season. There's just been times where he's lacked confidence, and there's been times where there hasn't been the right person to give him the ball in the right spots. But Elijah Winder would have been my original pick, because I think that he is one of those guys who understands Joseph Paintsil. It's paid off throughout the course of the season. I'm sure extra, training sessions with Elijah Winder and Paintsil have grown that chemistry into them, and you could see it on the field now. So I'm very excited to see what it looks like next year with Paintsil with a point to prove now. And yeah, I think he's a real leader in the locker room. I know there's a comment that, too much vibes, but I think when it comes down to it, he can be very serious. I think he's Definitely. A guy that, when the Galaxy are struggling, he's an emotional guy. He's a sensitive guy. He's a musician. He's a sensitive guy. He has that.
He just dropped a new track.
Yeah. Wait, when?
On game day.
Did he
game
actually?
Day, he dropped a new track.
Hold on, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Man.
I like the emergency EP. I'm surprised that JP Music didn't invite me to anything. I haven't seen anything on Paintsil's new song out, but he told me when I met him in person that he has an album on the way. So just more stuff. By the way, circling all the way back to when we talked about the Club America friendly, let these guys go. Let these guys go on vacation. Let Paintsil go back to Ghana. Let Peck go back to Brazil. Let all of these guys just relax after how much of a disaster. I understand you have to prepare for CONCACAF, but I think after this disaster of a season, you can't continue that same momentum going. I feel like we didn't have an off season. We didn't have an off season. Like, it was like,
yeah.
I think our off season was 2 times as long as that break in the playoffs was. That's not an off season, man. That's just not. It's not. But like, from the final game to the start of preseason, it's not enough. And I think this is finally your time to let some of these guys relax. Paintsil, when was the last time he had a real off season? It has to be maybe summer of 2023. Let the guy rest.
He's played a lot of matches, and that's really why you saw him cop a couple injuries last year and get an injury at the beginning of this year. And, so, I agree with you, man. I mean, these players got to get their rest, especially Joseph Paintsil, who wants to make that Ghana squad. And, for the record, he's my pick as well. And, somebody did say too much vibes to be captain, but there's been a lot of times this year where the Galaxy have just been terrible and have had a terrible performance, have let their fans down. And Joseph Paintsil is usually one of the guys who comes out and gives face. He and Diego Fagundes and Maya Yoshida. I mean, those are the guys that usually come out and talk to us when the Galaxy have not done well. So you see these guys kind of lead by example, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he did wear the armband already this year. I believe once, twice, maybe once from the beginning, and then once he was given the armband. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's my defending the badge as well. We will have a defending the badge for a year winner here at some point, guys. So we will invite you guys all to vote on Galaxy Season Awards as well. But before we get on out of here, guys, let's go ahead and look at where the Galaxy actually ended up this year. This is going to be great. After 34 matches, the Galaxy ended with a 7-18-9 record. That's 66 goals conceded this year, one less conceded than in 2023. They finished on 30 points. That's good enough for 0.88 points per game. Negative 20 goal differential, which is good enough for 14th and 14th and second to last place in the West. They just edged Sporting Kansas City to that 14th spot, but they did make a jump, guys, in the Supporter Shield table, where they jumped up to 26th. So yay. Greg did kind of make a joke about, hey, we're not going to be celebrating that at all. But you know that it's better than the wooden spoon, right? But the Galaxy do finish the season with their lowest points per match average by a reigning champion in MLS history. Formerly, it was DC United with a 0.94 points per game average. The Galaxy just beat that with 0.88. Again, guys, this is a Galaxy team that won no games on the road. And then, Andrew, remember when I told you that I would bring up some math that would cause you even more pain?
Yes, I love math.
Yes, I just learned numbers, so forgive me if my numbers are a little off here, right? But the Galaxy were 5-4-1 this year when scoring first. That's 14 points lost from winning positions. Now, being that the Galaxy have 30 points on the year lost 14 points, that would mean that they would have had 44 points. Gents, I would like you to see where 7th and 8th place here line up on the playoff table.
I saw where you're going with that.
Yeah. So 30 plus 14 equals 44 if I'm doing my maths correctly, which is good enough for 7th or 8th place in the playoff table. Guys, we see that this Galaxy team just kind of shot themselves in the foot this year, but there are a couple of positives. All right. One is this guy here, which is what the Galaxy were shooting for with that Leagues Cup campaign. They did take 3rd place, so they do get that Champions Cup berth. But here's what we know so far about the Galaxy's status in 2026. So far, we know that there's no CVI because of the Galaxy's Champions Cup campaign. We'll know more about that after the CCC draw on December 9th. We'll know if the Galaxy will be playing in that first window of February 3rd through 5, or in that window of between February 17th through 19th, and if the Galaxy will indeed be playing in the CVI. As I believe Peyton mentioned, there is no Leagues Cup next year, and the Galaxy return to the U.S. Open Cup, the oldest cup competition in North America, and a grand old competition that I'm super happy to see the Galaxy playing in again. And that's basically where we stand for next year. Guys, before we get on out of here, it's been a tough 2025, and I always like to leave people on a positive note. Tell me what you're looking forward to in 2026. We'll start with you, Peyton.
Winning MLS Cup.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Ooh.
It is happening. I stood on that hill. I don't care what people say about it being a rebuilding year. They said the same thing going 23 to 24. I understand it's a 30-team league. This team, if they make the right additions, I think you need to look at the center back spot. I would honestly, I know this is an unpopular opinion among 95% of our fan base, maybe even more. I would look at another midfielder on TAM before I'd look at a TAM striker, if I'm being completely honest. I think you could bring a guy like Nascimento back, and if he's not your guy, then you go and get another U22 DP and then bring in a competitive backup striker, like another Christian Ramirez, but maybe even more competitive. A guy that can really challenge for that spot. And in my opinion, I rather have somebody help out Edwin Cerrillo in that midfield, and you're going to need that support with Riqui Puig rehabbing. You need depth in that position. You can't count on Riqui Puig to go 90 every single game. Winder's proven to be good depth. You're going to have Sanabria probably as depth, but you need another starter. You need another workhorse. You need a guy like Mark Delgado. So I think you need another archetype of that before you look at a striker like Lewandowski, in my opinion, because you need that midfield to be orchestrating like it was in 2024. That midfield was so important to that front.
Got to shore up that defense too.
That you could put a lot of people up top, and they would probably score quite a few goals. Just with how good that midfield talent was and the production that they were getting to the wingers who were flying. So long story short, MLS Cup 2026. I'm calling it right now in Lacuna Galaxia. It's coming home. Maybe even an Open Cup, but I don't think we'll take it seriously with CONCACAF at that same part of the season. If we make a run in that, I doubt we'll really take Open Cup seriously. But I'm so glad to be in it. Goodbye, Leagues Cup and your money grab. Although it's probably easier to get. I don't know. I think the fact that there's 3 CONCACAF spots in Leagues Cup makes it a bit easier, but in Open Cup, there's maybe 12 MLS teams playing, and I don't know. But I feel like you get a good shot at CONCACAF regardless next year through Open Cup. If you do go on a run, maybe play some of the young guys like Harvard Miller, Elijah Winder, get some rotational guys in that game, those Open Cup matches, and see what they have to prove. And maybe even some Dylan Vanney, I think would be cool to see in 2026. I think he has a real chance of making his first team debut. So MLS Cup 2026, shout out Diego Fagundes for throwing me this ball after the game, signed ball. I nabbed this.
Hell yeah, Dieguito.
I was in Galaxy Outlaws. I was in Galaxy Outlaws last game, and he threw me this ball, nabbed it out of the air.
He also did away from a kid.
Yeah, of course. I ripped it away.
Well, standard. That's standard right there.
Yeah, you have to. It's like those people at the baseball games.
Well, we better not see this. We better not see this ball on OfferUp or Mercari here pretty soon.
No.
Andrew, go ahead and hit us up. What are you looking forward to in 2026?
Yeah, I feel like the easy answer is the return of Riqui Puig. That's going to be obviously, I think, the big draw. Just on that alone, I think we'll see a lot more of the stadium fill up. And, that's probably another thing. I'm excited to see a full Galaxy Stadium. I'm excited to see a full V block. I remember before I started, coming to the press conferences, ACB, Outlaws, who I'm a member of, that was my favorite, place to be, especially in 2024. It was so special, the feeling in there. And, it sucks to be kind of having to hum the chants along to myself up there in the press box. But it's a different stadium. It's a different feeling, and it gives the players a different energy when Dignity Health Sports Park is in full force. So I'm hoping we do build a proper squad to, bring the fans back, give them something to be proud of again. And again, like Peyton mentioned, it's something I wrote. I'm going to quote the same article from back in February, March. I do think that 2026, if not then 2027, I do think we're due for another cup pretty soon, just because first and foremost Riqui Puig, but the back office staff that we have now. We talked a little bit about it, Rob, as we were leaving the stadium, but people like Ravi Ramanemi, Michelle Dencher, just all these new-ish now, but new front office signings that are really gonna supplement the decision making, the scouting, the recruitment. And that's something that we've needed, especially this year. There were probably a couple of misses in terms of recruiting. There were holes still left that weren't addressed all season. So I'm excited to see what this offseason can bring in terms of decision making, acquisitions. There's a lot to be done, but it does feel like we have a little bit more infrastructure to go ahead and get that done. So I'm stoked to see the new signings, to see who we let go even, but just to see how this team changes, evolves, and again just grows around Riqui Puig. I said it a couple of times last year, with Riqui Puig in this team, I don't think that there's a better team on the continent than a 2024 Galaxy, and I feel like we're not far from getting back there. But again, it's about trusting the front office to go ahead and be competent to do their job. It's their turn now. The players did their bit in 2025. Now it's up for the front office to do it. So that's probably my biggest thing. I'm really, really looking forward to this transfer window. My eyes have been set there since probably last summer. So yeah, looking forward to that. But it should be a fun year.
My man Andrew's looking forward to the transfer cheesemeh that is going to start here pretty soon in the off season. Well, guys, I mean, I'm really just looking forward to a clean slate for next year, and for building more good memories with this Galaxy community, and it's going to be a World Cup year, also covering this World Cup. I mean, next year is going to be a massive year for soccer, not just the Galaxy, but for soccer. And we hope you guys keep it locked here with us on Laguna Galaxiana, and then you read Andrew's articles, and you go ahead and check out Talking Galaxy for more Galaxy information. Long and short of it, hit those likes, hit the subscribes. Y'all heard Peyton, y'all heard Andrew. You guys know where to find them, guys. We do want to say thank you so much for being here with us tonight. It was a lovely time. Thank you for being good co-hosts. When you see Ananda, you can go ahead and invoice him for your services for the evening. And then Ananda, if you're listening to this, you owe everybody in chat a shot.
DoorDash.
Yeah. Did you say DoorDash?
Yeah. I'm a little.
I don't know if he's holding the first shot yet.
I'm not. Yeah, no, I'm 19, turning 20 next season.
And that's exactly why all he does is dealing Flintstones vitamins.
But right, and that's legal.
Exactly. Guys, we do want to say thank you as well to everybody in the chat for being here, and apologies for the technical difficulties at the beginning. We do hope that you'll forgive us, and thank you once again for listening to another episode of Laguna Galaxiana. A reminder that on Thursday, October 23rd, we'll be taking the night off. Make sure and catch up on the back catalog and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. There's a lot of good stuff in the back catalog. We have our homie Eli Lesser in an episode. We have Will Kuntz in a couple episodes. We have Tommy Bogert in an episode. We have the Podfather Josh Gaspin in an episode, and we definitely have these two gentlemen in the back catalog as well. So go ahead and check that out on Thursday, October 23rd, and a week from now on Monday, October 27th. Join us as we start to look back on a wacky and disappointing 2025 with what'll be our top 3 moments of 2025 and bottom 3 moments of 2025 podcast. Yes, we're going to have to narrow it down to 3, which is why it's going to be hard. And you know what? Chat's going to go off, and they're going to go ahead and tell us their 3 as well. So there's going to be many moments, but
I can't even think of 3.
That'll be the challenge. Yeah, that's going to be the challenge, just narrowing it down 3. But we do appreciate you guys for being here in chat and for being here on a Laguna that was a little longer than normal, but we do appreciate you guys sticking with us, and we'll see you guys next Monday. Until we meet again, Only one thing left to say.
Goodbye, Zonka.
Jesus.
Yeah, es la voz de LA.